So, do you want us to start with the audience or start with the panel? Okay, so let's start off first of all with the panel. We've all been listening to lots of input. So what we'd like the panel to do really is to reflect a little bit on the enormity of this exercise, and perhaps just each of them just put a couple of points into the pot to start this discussion going off, so that we can go back into the audience and get your views on those issues. So I'd ask you not to make a speech, please, but just to reflect on one or two points that jumped out for you, especially listening to the last round. Julia.
Okay, Trevor, thank you very much. Well, for Colombia, the pilot was extremely interesting, gave us a rich discussion about how we were doing things, and made us, I would say, improve in 2 points. It was very important to recognize the parks that they were doing well their job, that they were doing a good management of the park, and we had evaluated the efficiency of the management. We had made a management effectiveness assessment, so we had some results, but so evaluating those results was very important for us to see who was doing things well and recognizing that. For the others, it was a challenge to improve what they were doing, and for us, planning in that direction, where the standards mark the path or the way to do things to improve how they were doing things, I mean the other parts.
Okay, great. Let's ask Sue to jump in here.
Thanks. I thought I was going to have no time to say
no
my points.
time.
No, that's
Sorry.
fine. I have 2 points, 2 very quick points. One is that it's important to understand that the Green List is supporting protected areas to reach best practices, as well as just celebrating those that have reached best practice. And I think the other important thing is, how are we going to work with the sites that have reached that level to share their best practices with other sites? I think we've already asked places like New South Wales to do an awful lot to get on the Green List, but unless they can share with the rest of the world how they've reached that excellence, then we won't have been succeeding.
Okay, great, thank you. And then perhaps Andrew, maybe you can jump in, having steered this through here in New South Wales, home turf.
I would agree with all of the speakers that have been up here, and add one slightly different dimension to it, and that's just to really highlight the fact that the Green List does a terrific job of celebrating well-managed protected areas. Many of you that are in the audience here manage protected areas and work very, very hard at it. The Green List does a terrific job of recognising the hard work with which the on-ground managers have been doing things, and where they've achieved the outcomes that they've intended for. So I would certainly encourage you to have a bit of a think about how you get involved, and I can certainly tell you that the 3 protected areas that New South Wales ended up having listed, the actual on-ground managers are absolutely excited and thrilled to be on there, because it's a celebration of the hard work they put in. And so as an endpoint in that regard, it's a fantastic process to go through.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, two quick points for me. One, I think very important that we make sure that the evidence base for the Green List is really strong. I think the credibility of the list will depend on the process, but also that it's solidly grounded on evidence of performance against the standard. We've worked very hard to try and make sure that that's built into the process. The other one for me, and I think one of the benefits that hasn't been mentioned, is for WCPA and for IUCN, that we have a lot of members of WCPA who ask, how can I contribute? This is an expert-driven process. We need them independent experts on the reference group. We need independent reviewers, and we need mentors. We're trying to run this really pretty much on the smell of an oily rag. And I think what it does is it gives experts and WCPA members an opportunity to make a really meaningful contribution to improving protected area management. And I hope how many people in the audience are WCPA members? Okay, so we're going to be asking WCPA members who are willing to put up their hand and to contribute to running the green list process.
Okay, and then last word from Khalid. You had the last word last time, so.
I think so there's two things. Having been associated as a species-based conservation assured standards, there are two things. As I would say, perspective with the tiger conservation is, the tiger conservation people have set up a goal of doubling the number of tigers by 2022. 2016 would be the mid-path, and there is, in the absence of one uniform standard across tiger range countries, this is the opportunity to bring in across the tiger range countries one uniformity of standards, so that by the mid-term goal, when we assess in 2016, we know exactly where we stand. I think so that's what we should be looking for.
Okay, great. So we've just heard a quick flash across some of the issues. Issues about celebrating and recognizing, communicating, the technical process that's involved in this, the effect on management that this could improve, the communication possibilities, the mobilization of support, the engagement of our experts and the learning that can be involved. So let's perhaps get a few comments from around the room, comments or questions for the panel. Let's take a few of those, and then we can put back some of those issues to the panel. So who'd like to? There's somebody there. Let's start off there.
Hi, I'm Surin from the Malaysian Nature Society. I think we have heard quite a lot about the why, the what, and the who involved in the green list process, and I think they all deserve congratulations for the effort that's put in. But I think probably from the how aspect we haven't heard enough about. I certainly have some questions about the how. In the earlier panel, there was discussion. There was a mention that it will be ISEAL compliant. Now, my understanding of ISEAL compliance, based on how it's been applied in the agricultural commodities sector, is that when you have a certification system, it requires third-party verification. It requires independent certification bodies. All this costs money, and even big companies, outbound companies that make billions of dollars a year complain that the certification process is expensive. So I'm just wondering about how we're going to handle that aspect of the certification process if we are going through the IC compliance. If we are not going through IC compliance, and it's more of a certification system that is regulated by WCPA itself, I can understand how it can work because the cost will be lower.
So Sonke, let's wait for response. I want to take more comments, please. Let's get a chance to get some of the issues out. Who in the audience would like to comment?
Yes, I'm Laurent Germain from the French MPA agency. I have two comments, two questions and remarks. The first one is that the green list is not only labelized or recognize the work of the manager, but also the coherence of public policies. And for us in France, it's very important. It's not only the responsibility of the manager to achieve the goals, it's also the responsibility of public policies. So, and the green links process permit to scan also the links between the objectives of conservation and public policies. The second remark is concerning the fact that the green list standards also lead French authorities and my agency to revise the standards of management plan and to add coherence between management plan of different kind of MPAs. So it's very important, it's a good framework to ask questions to every kind of management plan. So it's two very interesting remarks of the green list process for the national and the national tools in France.
Okay, and perhaps one last comment or question from the floor in the center here.
Paula Gross from MAV Foundation. First, I wanted to congratulate you all for the great job you've done so far on the green list in 2 years. It's remarkable, so thank you for that effort. The point I wanted to make is that other conventions, groups, such as, for example, the World Heritage Convention is already thinking of a way of measuring the success of management in their protected area, in the World Heritage sites, for example, using the Outlook tool. So it's likely that there are going to be more. There are already some more that I don't know of, way of measuring success of management protected areas. So are you thinking of building some bridges between your green list, this model, and the existing and upcoming measures of success of protected areas management? Thank you.
Okay, so because we're very close to the time we need to end this, let's go back to those questions. The first one was really not just about ICL compliance, but the feasibility of this in terms of the cost of being able to do this efficiently. So I think perhaps Sonke is the best person placed to respond on that.
Yes.
Please stand up, Sonke.
The ICL Alliance was founded to have different means of assurance systems and credible systems for different kinds of standards. So it was founded because it was realized that the predominant ISO standards, which we see in all kinds of certification, are not really fitted for sustainability and environmental standards. So there are codes which are built around these credibility principles I've shown, and each standard system has to show and demonstrate how these credibility principles are underpinned. And I think we've built a unique and innovative model for GLPA, which is cheaper and is building on the existing capacities of the IUCN and WCPA membership.
Okay, great. And then if we go to perhaps the last question first, about the integration with, say, World Heritage Outlook, and I'm thinking also of CATS. Maybe Mark, you could comment, and then Sue would maybe comment on how, how necessary it is to get one international standard that many things can nestle in. Mark?
Yes, it's an issue that came up very early in the process, and we took a decision that we should try and align the standards and as much as we can in the development process, with a view in the end that we would be able to in a sense, cross-credit, to integrate those processes, recognising that things like World Heritage Outlook has a specific purpose and an objective. So we talked together early on that both of the assessment systems are, at their base, have a common framework in the IUCN Management Effectiveness evaluation framework and the criteria that it's used. And we work very closely with Outlook to align the criteria and the indicators. And in fact, I'm going from this meeting to the presentation on World Heritage Outlook that's on in the South E North room to talk about how we have aligned those. So our objectives are very much to do that. Things have evolved in the green list as we've gone along, so we're going to have to keep adjusting that. But our objective is not to have a proliferation, but rather to work very closely together. I'll let Sue talk about CATS, but the same process applied.
Okay, Sue.
Well, given that there's not much time, I think the key point here is that this is the beauty of the green list being under the IUCN and WCPA umbrella. It enables us to reach out to all the organisations that are members of IUCN with all the different initiatives that are going on, and that's very much what's happened with the Conservation Assured Tiger Standards. That comes primarily from WWF, members of IUCN. Let's make sure that all the initiatives around standards are built together under one umbrella, and I think the green list is a great umbrella to build them under.
Okay, in the last few words, I want to just let the three remaining panelists comment on this last question raised by the French MPA agency. Can the green list help improve the coherence of public policy regarding nature conservation? Julia, you've been trying to do this as a lawyer involved in Colombia's national parks.
Yeah, I would like to say also that not every park is outstanding universal value, but every park can be part of the green list if they are well managed. And of course, the coherence is something that we gain. If we have a system that is well managed, we are going to accomplish the goals for conservation in our country. So it's a great tool to accomplish and give coherence to the whole system of protected areas, at least in our country.
And Khalid, can we do this in all the Tiger Range states?
I'm sure because each of the Tiger Range states, they have some unique values, and coming to the uniformity of the system, we would be able to have some coherence into some kind of a policy which would be helping us for tiger conservation.
So Andrew, now I'm going to pose what we call the hospital pass question here is, okay, so we piloted this in New South Wales, you have many other states in Australia. How can this process that you've just started here help develop coherence across Australia in terms of public policy coherence?
Boy,
That's a
and
hospital
how long
pass.
have I got there?
Or do you think so, yes or no?
Absolutely. I'll start by saying this was absolutely a pilot process that allowed us to figure out how it actually will work and how it can work effectively. As an agency that was able to nominate 3 parks, it allows us to demonstrate the best that we can achieve and highlight some of how that's occurring and what it took to get to that particular point. How we would look to coordinate that across other agencies across Australia and work with them towards getting a common standard that we can all aspire to is certainly something that we can embark upon, and I believe we would succeed in. It allows us to demonstrate where those standards and consistency occurs across the board.
Okay, so we've reached the end of the session, unfortunately, but I got the sense, first of all, that what we have, James referred to it earlier, we have this group of people that is piloting this. We have a group of sites that's demonstrating success. And all of you who took the time out to come and join this. And what I'm hoping is that as time goes by, we can actually propagate this idea. Certainly IUCN is completely committed to doing this. We've got lots of questions still to figure out. But I think this is one of the most exciting initiatives in the world of conservation, and I'm really glad that we were able to use this Congress to push it through the doorway. And again, even because there's hundreds of people involved, I want to just thank all of them, all of you, for what you're doing and what you will continue to do, because I think this is one of the ideas that could bind and motivate our conservation community to look forward towards greater success and greater impact in conservation and social justice through conservation. So with that, could you please join me in the round of applause to everyone involved?